when I discovered through immersion that I could license and kind of how to pitch and how to do all that, um, I still had two-year-olds at home at this point. We're always carrying them around in these baby carriers. And the company that we had these two baby carriers with was called Baby Tula. And I wrote a slip of paper and stuck it in my phone case. And I said, I want a license with Baby Tula. And within a year of 2020 immersion, I got my design on a baby carrier through Tula. And then since then, another carrier through Tula and new products coming out this coming spring with Tula. If you just feel any bit of that restlessness that you are searching for something, you don't quite know what it is, but you're not content with what you have, that it's just worth it to try and just see what comes out on the other end. Because, you know, sometimes in immersion, there was things that were over my head, but I knew that I had lifetime access to it. So even if I couldn't get to the 7th and 8th module right away because I was, you know, drinking from a fire hose, I knew I could pace it out and come back to it. So that was also like, well, I'm paying for this now and it feels like a lot, but I'll have this forever. And I can, even if I can't complete the whole thing, like at least I know I have it and I can work through it when I want to.
Hi, everyone. I'm here with Casey Gordon. Hi, Casey.
Hi, Bonnie.
I'm so excited to dive into your story today. Before we get into it, can you tell me just a little bit more about who you are and where you live and what you do?
I am a mother of three, two 6-year-olds and a 3-year-old. I'm from just outside of Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, and I have been a pattern designer for almost 5 years now.
So you took immersion in 2020, is that right?
Yes.
Okay. Tell me what was going on in your life when you found immersion and what kind of brought you to it?
In 2020 and before that, I was a middle school art teacher. And so I have my undergrad and my master's in art education. And even though I had a creative career, I wasn't being creative personally. You know, my creativity extended to coming up with a fun lesson plan for 11-year-olds for 1 point perspective. I was craving a creative outlet, and lo and behold, it was like, oh my gosh, there's this thing called immersion that's starting like really soon. It just was odd how it all fell right in a row for me like a domino. It was like, well, I have to take it. I just discovered it. Now this is opening and it's only open once a year. So I took it in 2020 and loved it, and I've stuck with it ever since. I'm one of those people when you walk through like a vendor art market, it's like, oh my gosh, that thing is so cute. But then you have this thought of like, well, I can make that. I can try to make that. So I'm
Right.
like that with a lot of things. And when I discovered I could make fabric, I could make wallpaper, I could make, you know, whatever with my design on it, it was like this light bulb went off, like this completely untapped, you know, just void of possibility that I was like, oh my gosh, I can't believe I didn't even know this existed.
I know that feeling well. Um, I think that one thing that's really special about the immersion course is that everyone kind of comes to the decision moment on whether they're going to take it or not. And at that moment, they're typically kind of standing at the door of a big dream or a big goal that they have. Were you? And if so, what would you say that big goal was?
Well, you know, immersion is it's a big commitment. It's a big commitment of time, of money. But I think I just felt like I needed to see if this was going to take me somewhere creatively. And I remember something you said then when I was trying to decide on just the financial commitment part of it was it's kind of like tripping over pennies to get to dollars. And
Mm,
it just clicked for me that like, yeah, it's a big chunk of change, but if it leads me to something that really brings me creative joy, potentially, you know, being successful and veering away from teaching, which I wasn't really loving at the time anyways. It just was like I have to see. It's like a no-brainer at that point. You have to try.
let's go ahead and go there. Did it bring you to dollars? Talk to me about what has happened for you since you took this leap?
When I discovered through immersion that I could license and kind of how to pitch and how to do all that, um, I still had two-year olds at home at this point. We're always carrying them around in these baby carriers. And the company that we had these two baby carriers with was called Baby Tula. And I wrote a slip of paper and stuck it in my phone case. And I said, I want a license with Baby Tula. And within a year of 2020 immersion, I got my design on
Mm.
a baby carrier through Tula. And then since then, another carrier through Tula and new products coming out this coming spring with Tula.
It is incredible. Your work is so beautiful. It's not surprising, but I know how incredible it is. So, talk to me about what it feels like to have things that you're licensing your artwork on that you're also using in your day-to-day life with your kids.
It's incredibly special, especially since when I licensed with Baby Tula and told them, I have young kids, they actually paid for me to have a photo shoot for a blog post of theirs with my carrier and my 1-year old at the time in the carrier. So it was like this whole like, oh my gosh, how did this happen? And yeah, just this past summer, the dresses came out in for Alison Ames with sizes that could fit both my daughters. So my girls are running around with dresses that, I licensed with. And when my daughter picks out what she wants to wear, she's like, I want to wear the dress that mom drew. So it's still like, it brings you to tears. It does.
So sweet. Okay, Casey, you're not still an art teacher at the middle school. When did you leave that day job?
Well, my daughter was born in 2020, so I took a maternity leave and then extended the maternity leave and extended the maternity leave until I got to the point where I had to either quit or return. And my husband, since starting immersion, has been incredibly supportive. And he was the one that was kind of pushed me to like, listen, burn the ships, like be home with your kids, design when you can. Like, I'm here to support you.
Mm,
So, it was like, do I want to stay in a job where even though it is a creative career, I don't feel creative doing it? Or do I raise my babies and yeah, I'm waking up at 5 a.m. every day and designing in my studio. So it's like you
mm,
make it work. I've taken immersion throughout the last couple years, and you're always seeing other women that are pursuing this and are farther than me and have done this with young kids. So when
yeah.
you see that, it's like, okay, if they can do it, I can do it. And that was one of the biggest things, and honestly, hearing you say, your kids were young and
Yeah.
you capitalize on nap time, your house stays a little dirtier that day and your dishwasher doesn't get run, but you can come downstairs after they get home from school or they wake up from nap and it's like, well, I just filled a whole sketchbook worth of doodles that I can put into a pattern in the next morning at 5 a.m. So you bunch out what you do, but you get it done when you have those little pockets of time.
The weirdest thing happened to me when I had my kids, my babies, was really that the constraint on my time helped me really get focused on like what I really had to do because I had, maybe 90 minutes to get it done. And I ended up getting the most important things done.
It's been life-changing in the sense that it's given me the opportunity to see a purpose I didn't really realize I would have had. I was, like I said, I was not really fully content teaching. I didn't feel a lot of administrative support through that. There's always students that need extra things that you can't provide or things that you can't quite accomplish, and not a lot of acknowledgement. And through surface design and the little bit of success that I found, it's almost like the success that I found isn't a ton, but it's enough to make you feel like, okay, well, if I can do this when I have young kids, what's it going to be like when I don't? And if I can just stay consistent so that when they are maybe in school a little bit more full time and I am home and not sort of suppressed being in the education system publicly, it just is like, it's like I can see the starting line of a race that I'm
Mm.
about to just blow the doors off that race, and I'm like walking up to it like I'm gonna be there in a little bit. I'm just getting ready. I'm getting my water bottle filled. I'm getting my penny on. I'm gonna be ready.
I think you already have a pretty good head start, Casey. It's amazing what you've done.
I would just say that if you just feel any bit of that restlessness, that you are searching for something, you don't quite know what it is, but you're not content with what you have, that it's just worth it to try and just see what comes out on the other end. Because, sometimes in immersion, there was things that were over my head, but I knew that I had lifetime access to it. So even if I couldn't get to the seventh and eighth module right away because I was, drinking from a fire hose, I knew I could pace it out and come back to it. So that was also like, well, I'm paying for this now and it feels like a lot, but I'll have this forever. And I can, even if I can't complete the whole thing, like at least I know I have it and I can work through it when I want to. If you really come to someone that loves you and supports you, even if it's not a spouse, even if it's a parent, or even if you're just trying to convince yourself of it, if it's worth it to spend that much or to invest in that,
Hmm.
if you're just really vulnerable and truthful about how much that you want to see if something will change your life, then
Yeah.
they can't look at you and be like, no, you're not
Right.
worth it. Like if you're really vulnerable and honest about it, even if you're like, I don't know if I'll be a surface designer, but this could lead me to something else. And what if it just awakens something in me that I didn't know I had?
Yeah.
Then, that's just like the best way to, I think, to get support is just really just bare your soul.
Yeah. That makes me think of my husband, who's always just on my side, always in support, 100%. But I think when I look back, he was probably sort of like, that's cute, and then there was this shift of like seeing me really committed and doing the work. And he kind of saw the light, not only from like a success perspective, but just like what it was doing to me, in a really beautiful way. So Casey, thank you so much. Congratulations. I can't wait to see what's next. Keep it up. Your work is gorgeous.
Thank you so much, Bonnie.